Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. So we got to discuss AEW's new deal, which is their second new deal, and they've only been in business a year and a half. So before we get into it, let's give some background because there's a lot of stuff that's going on here, and you may have heard some of it, but I want to make sure that people who haven't been paying attention we all can get on the same page. All right, April 27th, it was announced that Turner Sports was going to get the NHL. They're going to get the NHL rights. HBO Max is going to end up getting the streaming rights. And this is going to be for 7 years. Between 2027 and 2028 will be the end of the deal. So that means that the NHL is now the dominant sport on Turner Sports, which likely is probably for a lot of people, they're going to say, well, that's the reason AEW Dynamite or AEW is moving Dynamite from Wednesdays on TNT to likely Wednesdays on TBS. But let's continue because I want to make sure we all on the same page again. May 17th, it was announced that AT&T and Discovery were going to fuse their assets into a new company. All right, so AT&T is offloading Warner Media, which owns TNT and TBS, to Discovery. And Discovery is going to create this entirely new product. They're attempting to fight the streaming wars. So all of these companies now are consolidating content so that they can fight the streaming wars. So if you are a shareholder in AT&T, you will get 71% of this new company. If you are a Discovery shareholder, you get 29% of this new company. The goal here is to, again, fuse content, but to expand Warner Media's fingerprints to a more global audience, because there's a belief that Discovery has a larger reach than Turner Media AT&T does. Now, AT&T just bought Warner Media 3 years ago, so they're very quickly turning it around, very quickly getting rid of it, because this is not really what AT&T does, but they want to stop other companies from dominating the market. So with all of that in mind, we do need to talk about what's going on with AEW. Now, what AEW is going on here, there's three things. There's a new network, there's a new show, there's a new time slot. So for a long time now, Tony Khan has been talking about getting a third hour of AEW on television. He's been talking about it for quite a while. So it was finally announced. It's going to be AEW Rampage, which will be starting August the 13th on TNT. It will start at 10 o'clock after SmackDown. So they will not be running head-to-head on SmackDown. They will be running afterwards. Now, TBS will now get AEW Dynamite next year. So in 2022, TNT will start with NHL, and they will be moving Dynamite to TBS. Now, some people have asked whether that's a good thing or not. You know, who has more viewers, TBS or TNT? I mean, I tried to look it up, and that's exactly what I got was the cache of AEW fans trying to figure out what's better, TBS or TNT. Well, look, cable is dying, right? This is what you people need to realize. Stop worrying about TV so much. I know that TV is the lifeblood of AEW and has been of pro wrestling in general since wrestling was on television. But TV is dying, right? It's all about the streaming thing now. So I looked up, and I remember I was talking about this on the channel before, but in July of 2020, there's an article that was posted by Variety that says that TNT was down 14% year over year. TBS was down 16%. So TBS is sagging far more than, well, not far, far more than TNT. And because, they're also doing, it's not just AEW that's being moved. I think Snowpiercer, there's other TV shows that were on TNT that are now being moved to TBS. The reason is they're probably trying to prop up TBS, right? They're probably trying to get people to watch that network. It's like putting a cast on a broken leg. You're trying to do something to get people to watch that leg, to make sure that you protect that leg. It's a similar thing. Now, a lot of people are going to wonder whether AEW is in any trouble or not. The answer is no. Okay, AEW produces content. They produce a content that people enjoy. pro wrestling is something that has a strong niche market. And as long as they can keep hitting that strong niche market, even if it's at lower and lower numbers, even if it gets down to 600,000 viewers, as long as they can put it on a streaming service and people are willing to pay for it, they will continue to make it. So that's the point here, is they're probably going to make some type of streaming deal with AEW and say, okay, maybe AEW is not going to have its own streaming service, but they may just say, how NBC has, Peacock has the WWE network. AEW is going to be a part of the Turner network or whatever the hell. Whatever they're going to do, I think it's going to be HBO Max. I think that's the Turner thing, right? I don't know. In any event, that's probably what they're going to do here. They're trying to, if anything, they're going to do whatever it takes to keep AEW alive. They don't want AEW to go under. That's what people need to realize. It's not the old days where people had a bunch of options. TV sucks today. They're sucking wind. They need anything. And I said this before, like when Vice signed that deal with MLW, and people kept saying, oh, there's fewer people watching wrestling than ever before. I'm like, they're looking for people. There's fewer people watching TV than ever before. There are fewer people watching TV than ever before. And if you could look up the industry articles, there's people who are looking at 50 million people only having television by the end of the year. Maybe. Every year it's going down. People are abolishing cable. They're getting rid of it. They're moving more towards streaming services. With that being said, AEW will eventually have to come to that deal. They're going to have to maybe jump ship from TNT or TBS to something else. And they may have to get paid to do it, of course. Tony Khan's not an idiot. But the idea that they're being downgraded. A lot of people have said, well, they're being downgraded from TNT to TBS. That's one way to look at things. I don't know the internals of Turner and how that works. All I know is them being moved from one network to the other doesn't really mean that much, considering they're probably going to get paid more. Because, again, TBS is in trouble. So likely they're being paid to pay paramedics for TBS and get people to watch that. In addition to that, TNT, they will still provide content for TNT. They will be doing supercards, let's say 4 a year for TNT. And I'm guessing that's going to be in addition to their pay-per-views. Or is it going to replace their pay-per-views? I'm not sure. Now, they do regular supercards for Dynamite. And maybe that's what they will be doing. They'll bring back, 4 supercards per year plus 4 pay-per-view events per year. That's a good, healthy business model. And that's fine, because they're going to keep Turner happy by producing something for TNT. They also produce a regular show for TBS. So they're well integrated into the Turner media space. And that's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that. The only issue I have is they're kind of overexposed. Like AEW produces far more content than they should for a company that's only been in business a year and a half. There's the thing they say about fire. The quicker things burn, the quicker they burn out, right? And people have been hot like fire for AEW, and they've been watching everything. There's people watching Being the Elite, and they're watching the YouTube shows, and they watch Dynamite every week. And then when Rampage starts, they're going to start watching that all the time. Eventually, somebody's going to hit a wall, and they're going to be like, I'm not watching all this shit. And I'm looking at the casual audience. Now, people like me, people like folks who follow the wrestling space, they're going to watch everything. I watch fucking Ring of Honor. So I'm going to watch Rampage when it comes on TV. I'm not going to be against it. But I'm just saying that eventually you're going to have creative problems. Now, they have said that Rampage is going to be the sister show and the partner of AEW Dynamite. So they're looking at Rampage as being sort of the SmackDown to AEW Dynamite's Raw, which is fine. Again, my only thing is they're producing a lot of content. And, we have to expect, there's going to be expectations that comes with this excessive production of content, right? So I really question how they're going to be able to maintain that, but it's a wait and see thing. We'll see how it goes. But this is everything I want to get people to recognize, not just that, they're being downgraded or upgraded or whatever the case may be. They had to renegotiate their entire contract for this, because Tony Khan, when it was mentioned that NHL was coming over and that they was probably going to get bumped from Wednesdays, he was talking about, oh, we got a contract. Like, look, those contracts don't matter. You you need Turner. Turner doesn't need you. You can talk about your contract all day. They'll kick you off the air, and then what? You know, I know you're a billionaire. You can start your own streaming services if you wanted to, but it's still not a good look. Ultimately, if you're going to be good partners, you have to understand that your partners are moving pieces around for whatever reason. And this was just one of the decisions they was making because they're trying to save TBS. And they've been, and again, it's not just Dynamite. They're moving other shows over to TBS, trying to change that network and help that network because it is dying, you know. But cable is going to be dead within 10 years anyway. So I hope that they're prepared for that. So there that is. My personal opinion on it is, so what? I don't care if AEW Dynamite has if AEW has another show. I don't care. It's all about, desperation. These networks, and it's not just AEW being desperate. It's about these corporate giants. They're merging all over the place. They're signing billion-dollar deals all over the place. And they're doing all this stuff because the streaming services is just cable all over again. It's all of these little fiefdoms. And, people are not going to be able to afford it all. So they're gobbling each other up so that people can buy as fewer and fewer of these things as possible. Because I saw, it's just a meme the other day that if you had all of the streaming services, you would be paying twice what you pay for cable. You would be paying like $800 a month if you had Netflix, Roku, Peacock, all that stuff. All that stuff is, you'll be paying out through the nose for it. Likewise, when people say, well, WWE is going to get bought by NBC, you have to realize content creation is very important now. NBC will have to make a huge deal in order to buy the entirety of WWE. You're talking about a content creators market now, okay? Because these companies are trying to find some way to win, some way to survive. And when you look at a company like WWE that has the captive audience that they have, there's no way that they would sell the company now, not when they can make big money for NBC and then tease other Amazon and Netflix and Apple and all of them with bringing that sizable audience to their streaming platform. Come on, man. It's just not reasonable to think that they're going to sell it at right now. Maybe in 10 years when Vince is not around anymore, maybe. But I don't see Stephanie or Shane selling it either. And likewise, I don't see Tony Khan selling AEW. Is it possible that he sells AEW but gets to keep running it? Perhaps. They've done that stuff before. Sometimes guys get those corporate, quote unquote, corporate partners and they chew into the company a little bit. But, it's the same thing with MLW and Vice. All of these deals are pretty much the same because they're dealing with TV networks. Who knows what those TV networks might want? They might want to see how it works at first and see, can we, how this relationship is. Is it comfortable? Does it fit the streaming service? Does it fit the company? Does it fit the corporate mold that they want to have? And then they may say, okay, well, we want to buy this. Who knows? But as it sits right now, AEW is going to be fine because they're a content creator with a captive audience. TNT wants that. TBS wants that. Turner wants it. Discovery wants it. Everybody's going to want that captive audience. Only thing is, somebody's going to have to come around and be completely irrational and say, I don't want wrestling. Just like they did in the past. And just say, look, I don't want this stuff. I don't care if it does 100 million viewers. Get rid of it. Somebody's going to have to be that ignorant in order to get rid of AEW or WWE at this point. Or AEW is going to have to sink to the point where it's just not worth it. But I don't see that happening. At least not anytime soon. So that's it. The second time, that's it. All right. So thank you guys for listening. Like, share, subscribe, donate. Peace out.